Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your Exceed Professional Accounting Value Add Reports webinar. My name is Charlotte, and I will be hosting today's webinar. Today's session will run for approximately 45 minutes with 15 minutes of questions at the end. Questions can be submitted at any time in the question box on the webinar's control panel. This webinar will show the value add reports as deployed with XPA 10.2 and demonstrate how to install, configure and deploy the reports for use with your clients. The value add reports are a set of management and dashboard style reports designed to provide additional insight and value to your clients, leveraging on existing data. This webinar will include details of changes to the XPA templates, Exceed tag sheets and financial reporting field data. Our presenter today is John Zenos. John is a chartered accountant specializing in process improvement and system design. John joined Reckon in September 2014 as a senior consultant focusing mainly on the Reckon APS compliance suite of products. Prior to joining Reckon as a consultant, John worked in chartered firms for 8 years and has gained experience, to name a few, in the areas of private tax, employment taxes, and business services. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to hand you over to John.
Thanks very much, Charlotte. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on value add reporting. As Charlotte mentioned, this webinar is going to cover the new to Australia release of the value add reports. As Charlotte said, my name is John Zenos and I do sit with the consultants here in the compliance team at Reckon. Let's have a look at the agenda that we've got for today. We're going to start off the session with an overview of what exactly these value add reports are and what the intended use of the sheets is. Following on from that, we'll look at the prerequisites and exclusions of this release, and we'll then walk through the process of installing, configuring and running the sheets. Today's session is going to be a closed session, so if there are any questions as a result of what you do see, please put them into the chat box and we will have some time at the end of the session to run through them. So to start off, what exactly are the XPA Value Add Reports? The XPA Value Add Reports provide an additional layer of information and a graphic picture of the financial results that you can normally get out of your management reports in XPA. Following reports have been made available as a part of the XPA Value Add Reports suite, and they are the Profit and Loss Trend Report, the Profit and Loss Variance Report, and the Snapshot Dashboard. Now these reports have come out of some consultation with our clients and figuring out what it is that they do with their XPA sheets now. And we know that the majority of our clients, if not all of our clients, use XPA to do their year-end financials. But management reporting doesn't seem to be following on as much. And the aim of these sheets and these reports is to make or to provide a more useful management reporting picture and also to provide some conversation starters, both internally and out to the client. We're going to run through each of the sheets in more detail, but we'll start off with just a brief run through of what these sheets will look like. So you can see them there. We've got the Profit and Loss Variance, the Profit and Loss Trend Analysis Report, and the Snapshot Dashboard. Okay. You can see they've got a different look to the normal XPA sheets, and this is a look that we are very interested in rolling out further on across the board. You can see it also picks up some of the design cues from some of the other products in the Reckon family, such as Reckon One. The Profit and Loss Variance Report, which you can see there, has a quarterly, year-to-date and a budget report, and also has some variances shown below. The Trend Analysis Report in the middle shows the trend in the P&L at a summarised level, and it does that over a period of up to 7 years. Okay, so we can leverage on the wealth of data that our clients have in this XPA file. We know that a lot of our clients have been running XPA files for a long time and there's a lot of data in there. The XPA files themselves hold 10 years of historical data, so there's definitely something in there that we can leverage off. And the dashboard at the end, you can see, uses some tiles as well as some trend lines to give, I suppose, a final visual cue or a visual picture as to where your clients or how your clients are performing. Let's look at the technical stuff. The list of prerequisites is pretty short. It's XPA 9.2. We have released these sheets in both the Exceed 9 and the newer Exceed 10 format. So if you're using XPA 9.2 or above, you'll be able to run these sheets. The reason why we say XPA 9.2 is because that's the introduction of the tag sets, of the functionality of tag sets. Okay. So tag sets is something that we use to create these reports, and it's something very different from the rest of our reports. Most of our sheets at the moment rely off the accounting, the account codes rather than themselves. The tag sets are a group of account codes, and it gives us a bit more flexibility. It gives us a chance to alter where certain accounts show up, and gives us a level of flexibility that we don't typically have with statutory accounts, because we're not quite as bound by the accounting standards in that sense. There are some exclusions to these reports. We do recommend that a unit trust is converted to a discretionary trust prior to utilising these value-add reports. We also don't recommend that the value-add reports are added to an existing job stream. Okay, it's better that these value-add reports are run in a separate job stream, which does not include any other management reports. The reason for that is the margins do get played around with as we generate new financials. Also to note, the value-add reports are not available for a self-managed superannuation fund. And just for those that may not have seen it before, I'll just show other slides again. So I'll just show that we've got the look of what these sheets actually look like. Okay, so we've got our profit and loss variance on the left, our trend analysis in the middle, and our dashboard on the right. But we will go through each of those in more detail. So when we kick off, you will get or you should have received a download email. Now that download email looks something like this. Okay, so if you haven't received this email, please get in contact with your Reckon APS champion or your contact with us. This email should have gone out to them. And that email has the link to our download page. Okay, so the download page here has our getting started with value-add reports, our user guide, and a zip file containing the reports themselves. So we have 3 value-add reports. We also have an information report that prints off and tells you what tags have been applied to each of your accounts. That will make a little bit more sense in a moment. I'm going to flick over now to our cloud environment, and we're going to show off now how we actually bring these reports into the system and how we use them. So what we will assume from this point is that I have downloaded the contents of that email. Okay. What will come in the email, as we've said, are our collection of value-add reporting sheets. So we have 4 reports in 2 different formats. So that's a total of 8 reports. Okay. We have 4 in the Exceed 10 binary format and 4 in the Exceed 9 XLSX format. What you need to do is take those sheets out and copy them into your Sheets directory. Okay, that's just your normal Exceed Sheets directory. Where you find that out is you go into your XPA, select File, Practice Settings. And you'll get a window up here that shows you what all your standard directories are. The one that we're after here is our Exceed Sheets directory. So you see this is a directory, and I've copied in my 8 spreadsheets. If you're only using Exceed 10, you only need to copy in the Excel binary format sheets. The next thing you need to do is copy in the templates that contain the financial reporting fields and the spreadsheet links. So if you're using just the standard APS templates without any changes to the name or anything like that, you'll just be able to copy those in. So just copy them out of the one directory, out of your download directory, and straight into your templates directory. If you are using a set of custom templates, okay, if you've done any changes to your financial reporting fields, any changes to Exceed job streams, and you've saved a separate copy of your templates, so ABC Firm Company or ABC Firm Master Chart or ABC Firm Trust, what you will need to do is copy the standard APS templates into your template directory and refresh your financial reporting fields. So how do we do that? You'll navigate to your template. Say you're selecting the Trust template. Select the RF button, which will bring up a window that has your financial reporting fields in it. Now I'm opening up a standard template, so I'm not going to see this window, but if I was to open a non-standard template that hadn't been refreshed yet, you would get a window that says there are fields in this template which do not exist in the original. Would you like to refresh these financial reporting fields? And you're going to select yes. The aim is that we're going to get our Value Add Reports reporting fields included down the bottom. Now it's important to know that you need to copy these financial reporting fields in for the reports to work. If you've made any other changes to your financial reporting fields in your custom template, those changes are not going to be overwritten in this case. Okay, it's very important to know that you're not going to lose the changes. We advise to our clients it's a lot easier to import, to go through the financial reporting field import process here than to try and change the original templates. We also find it's easier again to bring in the additional sheets in the Exceed Reporting Spreadsheets menu, which we're about to go through, rather than trying to again recreate your job sheets in the standard APS template. Once you've refreshed the reporting fields, hit the Save button and close this window. You'll then need to add those value-add reporting spreadsheets to your template. So you'll select the Exceed Reporting menu, hit the Spreadsheets item. What you can see down the bottom is it's navigated to my Sheets directory. And if I scroll down, you can see I have 4 reports here that are able to be imported. So if I was to double click it and then hit Save, it would be added there to the bottom of my report. Okay. You need to do that with all 4 sheets. Now, the process that you've seen there relates to the Trust template. The same process will need to be repeated for the company template, the sole trader template, and the partnership template. It will also need to be replicated on the master chart template. And the reason for that is because the master chart template contains the tag sets that you need. They are the VA report tag sets. To find out whether you have the VA report tag sets, you can hit your tag set button in the toolbar or go to chart tag sets. You can see here there is a tag set menu at the top, and we can see this trust template doesn't have the VA tag set. That's because it comes from the master chart. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to add that tag set necessarily to my template here. I can do so. That way any future file created with that template will have that tag set. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the tag set directly to my client file. So now I'm opening up my client file. I'm in the A-Person Family Trust, which is one of our demo files. And I'm going to hit the tag set button. I'm now going to hit the copy button there at the top. Choose my source, and my source in this instance is going to be my XPA master chart. Okay, very important there. We're going to choose the XPA master chart AIFRS. We then select the VA reports tag set. Now for existing files, this import process will need to be done at the very first instance of completing or choosing to run the value add reports. You don't need to do it every time, you just need to do it this time. Going forward, if you copy this tag set using the exact same process into each of your template files, so your trust template, company template, partnership template, and sole trader template, you will be able to have that tag set automatically added to each file that is created from this moment using that tag set. Now, what exactly is the tag set? What you can see here is that is a list of tags on the left and a list of available accounts on the right. So the available accounts here are accounts that have not been allocated to a tag yet. Okay. In this instance, the only one we have left is division names, which is not important. What you see if I expand on these tags is I have a list of all the accounts that are added to that particular tag set. Now what we can do is that we can actually leverage off this and change the way that things are reported. What you'll notice is that we have 10 expense tags that's effectively that are blank, that are labeled 1 through 10. We can give each of these a custom name in the financial reporting fields and drag the relevant accounts there. The reason for that is that at the base level we summarize these reports. What we can do going forward is create a custom management profit and loss for your clients that reports on things the way that they choose to see them. Okay, so I could choose to drag salary and wages, superannuation, workers insurance, and employee amenities, all under the expense one tag set. That's because I want to report on these separately. And I'll leave the rest in overhead. What you can see there is I'm just picking something up and dragging it from one tag to another. That's how easy it is to actually change. The other thing that you have to do in your client files the first time that you run the reports is refresh the financial reporting fields. Okay, so the same way that we had to apply the reporting fields to the tech, we need to apply the reporting fields to each of these ledgers. But again, like the tag sets, we only need to apply it the first time. So what you can see there, I have my value add reports. I'm going to hit refresh. I'll refresh against my trust template. What you can see there is that I have some fields that do not exist in the trust template. I've added these myself. I'm not going to delete them for the moment. So if you have added any custom fields, you won't lose them. What you can see now is that we have our value add reports. And we have a section there called tag titles. So you can see I have a field here that says add title for expense 1 tag where required. And it goes all the way down to expense 10. So we had those expense categories 1 through 10 that we were able to use. And what I've done is I've used expense 1 to put my employee expenses in. So I need to give it a name, otherwise it would just show up as blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to untick the template column, which allows me to edit this field, and I'm going to give it the name employee expenses. We also have the ability to rename any of these other tags. So our default names are in here: trade revenue, primary production, rental, professional revenue, etc., all the way down to interest, depreciation, tax. So we can change any of these. So I've now labeled it as employee expenses. I'll save my financial reporting fields and I'll close that. Now, before we start running our reports, I want to review where everything is sitting. Okay. So I've looked at my tag sets in isolation and I've seen what accounts live there in broad strokes, but I want to see exactly where everything sits when I generate a trial balance. So I'm going to select my trial balance and I'm going to apply a filter to that report. And if you haven't used the filters report before, it's a really great way to review your trial balance. A lot of people do it for the OZ tax tag set so they can review what will be exported out to tax. But you can also apply a value add reports tag set. To make reviewing easier, I'm also going to select subtotal on tag sets and group by tag set. And that gives you a report that looks like this. So you can see I have 2 expenses that sit under trade cost of goods sold, and I have a value here that is going to be generated. It's only these summary total values that are going to be generated. So tag sets is a really good way to actually summarize these accounts for you and not list out everything. See, we have depreciation grouped, and we have our expense 1 tag set, which we've allocated as employee expenses. You can see the tags also apply to the balance sheet. And if there are any accounts that are not allocated to a tag, they will apply at the top in a category that says no tag. It's very important that we do allocate all the reports to a tag so that we can be assured of the accuracy of these management reports, or these value add reports. Now that I've reviewed my data here, I'm ready to generate my report. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of these one by one and go through the settings that apply. So the first sheet that I'm going to go through is the profit and loss variance first. I'm going to come back to P&L trend. So I'm going to do P&L variance first. So I'm going to open up my financial reporting fields again and go through the financial reporting fields that relate to the P&L variance report. So again, I'll select my Value Add Reports section, select my Profit and Loss Analysis, and I have the option here to apply a different name. So at the moment it's called Profit and Loss Variance, but we can call it whatever we want. If you're using XPA to add budgets, you can have the budget year-to-date column selected. If not, we just present this year and last year. We also then ask, do we include directors and shareholders' expenses from expense calc this year versus last year? Now, we don't have any directors or shareholders remuneration in this file, so I'm going to say no to that one. Hit save, and I'm now ready to generate my report. So there we go, there's the first report there. Have our client name at the top and our title here. So if we want to change the title, that was the financial reporting field that we looked at before. You can see we have the quarter leading up to June 2014 and then the year-to-date comparison for the year before. Moving down the line, we have our revenue this year versus last year and the growth. Expenses this year versus last year, and in this case expenses has gone up as well. And our gross profit this year versus last year. Leading up to a net profit versus net profit after tax, which you can see in this situation is quite different. Okay. And that's verified when we go back here to our trial balance. Our profit is dramatically down. I'm now going to look at the profit and loss trend report. So the profit and loss trend report has its own list of financial reporting fields. And these financial reporting fields ask us how many years we want to generate this report for. We also can, again, just like we could on the last one, change the title. Okay, so we can give it another title. We also have the ability to include or exclude any of the trend lines that we saw, okay, that we're about to see. So you can see there's 6 different trend lines, okay, on percentage and dollar value that we can choose to turn on or off. Now, I'm only going to generate this for 3 years because I know there's not a lot of data in this particular file. And again, I'll save my financial reporting field. So you can see there that that's been generated. Okay, so we have our revenue, our cost of goods sold and direct costs, and then our total expenses. also have gross profit, earnings before interest and tax, and net profit. And those values, so these values here in bold, have also been represented on the trend line. And again, as we said, we can choose to turn those off, any of these off. So I might go and regenerate that at this. Turn off the percentages. So you can see now only the dollar graphs have been generated. Gross profit and loss, EBIT. Sorry, there was one that I didn't change. So $3 sign, $3 graphs, and 1 percentage graph. Just so you're all aware as well, if we look at the user guide to the value add reports, which does come with the pack, each of the reports has a list of the calculations that we use for the trend lines. Okay, so the first one, I'm looking at page 19 of the user guide, and it has the formulas that we've used to generate these trend lines, okay, to generate those figures. Okay, the reason why we've done that is to give you the maximum visibility over our thinking, and to make sure that when you are reviewing them, that the numbers there make sense. The final report that I want to go through is the Snapshot Dashboard. And just like the others, it has its own set of financial reporting fields, and these ones are probably the most detailed out of the 3. So again, at the top, we can see that we can change the title, so we can call it whatever we like. We then can choose which tiles we want to generate. Okay, so each of these boxes is a tile. And what we've done is that we've grouped them in groups of 2. So we've paired them up, and our financial reporting fields ask us whether or not we want to show certain pairings. So we've got a reporting field that says, do you want to include total revenue and total expenses tiles? So that's together. Same thing for gross profit and operating profit, and so on and so forth. What you can also see there is that we have some financial reporting fields that have some more data in it. Okay, so we've got some financial reporting fields that have text boxes in there. What we're doing there is that we have the ability to edit the descriptions. So our default is to have a bit of a description or a bit of a quick context help as to what each of these ratios does. You may decide that your clients don't need that. That text is not relevant to your clients, so you can remove it entirely, or you can add something else in there. You could add a commentary on what a favourable or what a desirable debt to equity ratio is, or a desirable working capital ratio is. You can edit this text. I'm not going to edit any of it to start. I'm just going to run the report. So you can see there, I've grouped revenue and expenses, gross profit, operating profit, and so on. As I go down into my ratios, okay, my ratio tiles present differently, but you can see that we've got comparison to last year and the year before that. What you can also see are the text boxes that give our clients a little bit more information as to what they're looking at. And as I said, these are descriptions that we've added. That doesn't mean that you need to keep them. You can use your financial reporting fields to make a comment as to what, maybe why the numbers have changed or what a desirable ratio should be. Just something to note here with the color scheme that we've used. Okay, you'll notice some of the numbers are green and some of them are red. Okay. Now, that doesn't make any judgment as to whether a measurement is good or bad. Okay, sounds a bit funny to say, but we've got green figures where the numbers have improved and red where the numbers have worsened. Okay, that's pretty clear when it comes to your profit and loss stuff. When you get to your ratios though, we're not making any judgment here or any comment as to whether any of these ratios are good or bad in their own right. The colors here only will tell us whether a ratio has improved or worsened in comparison to last year. Okay, it's very important to note that. We're only demonstrating whether a ratio has improved or worsened during this financial year. We're not saying that a debtors turnover of 83.26 times in this instance is a good figure or a bad figure, only that it's gotten better. Okay, so this is where you may choose to change some of the descriptions in your snapshot tile to make a comment as to what a desirable or what a normal turnover would be, or what a normal ratio in this case would be. So it's very important to note that we're not making any comment as to whether or not these ratios are good in isolation, only whether they've gotten better or worse. If you need any more detail of that, or if you need to make a judgment as to whether that is a good or bad number, you will need to make a change to your financial reporting fields and discuss that with your client. Now, in terms of the formulas that we've used for the snapshot reporting dashboard, again, just like the report that was shown before it, the ratios are shown on page 27 of the user guide to the value add reports. Okay, so all the formulas that we've used to generate these tiles have been disclosed on page 27 and 28 of the user guide to the value add reports. Again, we're trying to be as transparent as possible as to how we're generating these figures, because we know some people can calculate them different ways. We've given you our way. Another thing to note, we've put these reports together based on some feedback from clients as to what they'd like to see. It is by no means exhaustive, nor is it the last release that you'll see. If you have any ideas or any comments as to things that you want to see, things that you think we should have in there, or alterations to any calculation, please let us know, and we'd be more than happy to take on any feedback in relation to this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of them together into a job stream, and I'm also going to generate my list of tags applied, just so I can show you what that looks like. So we can generate these in a job stream together. Now what you can see here, this last report that I've generated is the list of tags applied. Okay, so you can see I've got a list of all my trial balance codes and where they sit. So if something isn't reporting the way that you think it should, you can generate this report and see where it sits, which tag that account has been allocated to. Well, that concludes the, I suppose, the official or the presentation side of things from the value reports side of things. Now I'd like to open up the floor to any questions. We will be sticking around for a few minutes to answer any questions that you may have. I know that or any questions that you do have will be should have been put into the questions panel. So I'll hand over to see if there's anything that people wanted to know.
Thanks, John, for that presentation. There has been one question submitted asking why hasn't the tag set name for expense 1 been changed?
Let's have a look at that one. So we have our tag titles. So I'm just going to run it now just to see if that's made a difference. Not quite sure what's happened with that demo. It normally would generate that, and it did that in the last one, funnily enough. So let me just try changing the tag set data. I'd say in this situation it would be probably an issue with the file that we've been playing around with on a pretty consistent basis. Just not playing ball with us today. Let me just try a different tag set, funnily enough. It always seems to work in the pre-shows, doesn't it? And then it likes to fall over when it's on display. In the Thursday webinar, we could see that the change was coming through. Just going to check this one more time. So expense 1 tag will required employee expenses.
So generally it would reflect what was edited?
That's right. So what it should show is that we've changed this tag value. We've definitely got values that sit so they're sitting there in expense 1. Variance. Ordinarily, it should show up there. I had a sheet before that did do that. So ordinarily, it would show up there. I'd say probably something that's fallen over in this particular demo environment that we've been playing around with consistently.
Okay, not a problem. There was another question asking if it's possible to set up monthly reporting.
Monthly reporting at the moment, no, not out of these reports. We can do quarterly. We can still do these with a monthly, so this particular file is a 12-period file, so it is a monthly file, but the reports themselves at the moment are limited to quarterly. If there are clients that would want this particular report to pop out monthly, if you send us through an email, we can definitely put that request into the team and get an ETA or an estimate as to when that change could be put in.
Another question that has come through, John, is can the P&L variance report generate without the quarters, for example, years only?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, there haven't been any other questions submitted. If anyone would like to submit another question, please do so now. Nothing is coming through, John, so I think we have reached the end of the presentation for today. Thank you everyone for attending today's session, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks very much.